Hello Orchid friends, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time watching my video, my channel is all about orchids. From what orchids I have, how I grow them, my thoughts on certain orchid topics, to what orchids in my collection are blooming, etc. So if you want to follow along my orchid hobby adventure, please consider subscribing to my channel and turn on the notification. Today in this video, we're going to look at one of my primary hybrids, and this one is Phal Germaine Vincent. This is a primary cross between Violacea indigo and speciosa. In my collection, there are a total of 2 Germaine Vincents, and this one is what I call the number 2. Number 1, I'll try to find time to make another video to show you its bloom and progress. But this one, let's go back in time. It is about toward the end of December 2019 that I started to see its new spike coming out. In fact, this is this orchid's first ever flowering. And a week after I noticed its initial first spike, it was putting out another spike. So I was obviously very thrilled. This orchid had gone through a lot. So when I first purchased it, it was a near blooming size orchid. And at first it was in semi-hydro setup, but then due to adjustment issues, or maybe because I didn't know what I was doing, so it was rotting a lot of the roots. So I took it out of the pot and I used basically full water culture with a lot of help from the liquid seaweed extract to try to help this orchid grow more roots, and it did. So I would say full water culture really helped revive this orchid. And then after I felt that this orchid had enough roots, I potted it back into semi-hydro, and that is the setup and the container that you see in this video. And you know, a year went by. Last year didn't bloom, didn't put out any spike. It was still recovering, but it was growing really well, lots of roots. And this year finally it's producing 2 spikes, and it's finally blooming for the very first time ever, both under my care, and probably, and I know it is for sure, its first flowering too. So this year, obviously number 2 is doing well, and you might have already seen from earlier photos that this orchid has lots of roots in the media, and there are some roots that are long enough to reach the bottom of the cup, which is, you know, in the reservoir. So I really think this orchid is on its way to full recovery, and probably is already recovered and will continue to do well, hopefully. So this orchid is interesting because it's a cross between Violacea and speciosa, and because the 2 orchids that these 2 Germaine Vincents I have are grown from seeds, so they do have slightly different blooming characteristics. So there are slightly different variations, I would say, between them. This one, you can tell that there is a white edge around the top sepals and petal. The other one that I have is closer to Violacea, and this one takes after the speciosa characteristics. And the reason when I say that is, if you look at the lip area, it also has fuzzy hair on top of the lip, and that is something that Violacea doesn't have. So this one definitely is a lot closer to speciosa than the other one is. It also is super fragrant, but the fragrance is closer to the Violacea fragrance. So sometimes I know some people would even say Violacea smells like chemical or some kind of medicine syrup. And it does smell like that sometimes in my collection, in my orchid collection, because some of my Violacea crosses, they do smell a little bit like cough syrup sometimes with a little bit of like cinnamon maybe, but it's not always a very pleasant smell. But all in all though, I think it's still a type of fragrance. This orchid, because it's in semi-hydro and have roots all the way down at the bottom of the cup, so for me it's very easy to take care of this orchid, and by that I mean the amount of water I provide to this orchid, anywhere between 1/4 cup and 1/8 of a cup. In winter time, I usually go with 1/8 of a cup. In summertime, I do give it a little bit more water because the evaporation rate is just faster. And here I added some black background for you to be able to see the white edge that I was talking about. So here you can see the white edge around the petals and the top sepal more easily. Overall, I really think the color is still very, I would say magenta-ish purple or magenta-ish pink. It's a very common Germaine Vincent color. I was hoping that one of my Germaine Vincent would at least have the speciosa random color distribution characteristics, but unfortunately both of them have the typical solid color, except that this one has a little bit of white edge around its flower. Nonetheless though, I enjoy the fragrance and I really do enjoy the vigor of Germaine Vincent. This one, I also only give it 1/4 strength or 25% fertilizer. I don't ever give it for 50% because I believe in weekly fertilization, and also because I'm a lazy orchid grower. I have so many orchids, so I try to get them on the same watering schedule as well as taking the same strength of fertilizer. So, you know, if it's 25% across the board, it's the easiest that I can do. I don't want to have to mix, you know, prepare different concentration. So mid-May 2020, this orchid was working on its 3rd bud, and it did eventually grew bigger, so I will make another video later to give you an update on how this orchid does. But right now the video clip is just give you another view of, you know, the bloom and as well as the white edge. Overall, I think this orchid is very happy in the semi-hydro setup. Yes, there are some aerial roots, but because this orchid is doing so well and have so many long roots reaching at the bottom of the cup, I feel this orchid is okay. And for me, I kind of see aerial roots like a roots savings account. Like if I don't need to repot this orchid, I'll let the aerial roots continue to grow outside, because what if, you know, just in case if ever roots are somehow rotting inside the media, I can then repot these aerial roots back into the media to help, you know, let the orchid, I guess, come back to health again. But yet, like you see here, new roots emerging or roots growing further inside the media, so that is a very good sign. And the tag you see is violacea indigo plus speciosa. I really enjoy this cross. I don't know if you have any, but if you don't, I'd recommend that you search online and try to get one for yourself. It doesn't require a whole lot of care and it's not very fussy. I mean, the reason this orchid had undergone so many different type of growing method, from water culture, actually from semi-hydro to water culture and then back to semi-hydro, it went through a lot, but it has done well and finally it's in bloom for us to enjoy. This is all I have for you today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to get more orchid related videos from my channel, please subscribe and turn on the notification. I want to wish you happy growing, and I will talk to you in my next video. Ciao!